Okay, so I just wanted to run through how I put up my hammock. It may not be the best way, it may not be the right way, but it's how we've been doing it. So the first thing you want to find is sort of two trees that are spaced roughly longer than you are tall. So we found these two trees. Ideally you can reach your arms around it because that'll make it a lot easier when you're trying to get the straps to hug the tree. So yeah, so once you find your tree, reach for your hammock. So I have a hammock and a bug net, and I always store them together because I always find myself using them together. So we'll just roughly size up, see if we've made a good call on the trees. Yeah, that's probably going to be pretty good. The next thing is we reach for our straps. And so these are the things that sort of choke the tree and attach the carabiners of the hammocks to. So I'm gonna see if I can reach around the tree. And they have these holes that you can feed through if your nails work. Oh my gosh. And that allows you to choke the tree. So I often go to the end, which will give me the maximum amount of length. So I've got all these options to choose to clip on for my final sort of adjustments. So you go roughly as high as you would like to sleep, choke the tree, and then we can set that one, come across and pick the other tree limb that we want to hang off, get our second strap, do the exact same thing, roughly the same height. This will all be adjusted. So we're choking the tree, very nice. Alright, so I'm just going to take a guess and clip on initially. Extend this out. And so I guess it's up to you how much banana-y sag you want to sleep with. I try and keep mine pretty straight. So I'm going to clip up here. It's a bit bendy, so maybe I can come back and find some more adjustment height-wise. So we'll work with that for now. So the hammock's in place. The second part is to run the string line for the bug net so it can hang up off our face. So to do that, I go to the same tree and I run it at a similar height but a little bit higher, and we can go through how to do a bowline later, but I will use a little bowline knot. Adjust it so that it's a little bit higher than the hammock straps, and hopefully we've gotten lucky and there's not too much excess to deal with. I do this thing that my friend Tim taught me to do. It holds tension pretty well. Come around, I go 1, 2, 3. Squish it together, and then what do I do? Come up through here, and I lock it off. So it breaks down really easily, and we've got some adjustment in the tension of the line. If you've done that at a good height, you should just be able to come up and clip on your clips. And then so you sort of side it. It's mostly going to be kept off our face, that's good. We're off the ground, that's good. And maybe if it was me and I was finalizing, I might go one strap higher on the adjustment. And yeah, you tighten down your little straps at the end so that the bugs can't crawl down your straps. So these little tensioning loops. Also just really important to choke the tree. So we'll drop this for a minute. So you want to choke the tree. When I was starting out, have run it a couple of times, just wrapping around the tree and then just going through 2 holes like this. And that's a bit of a rookie error, because you might adjust in your sleep and then all of a sudden you'll slide down the tree.
Setup?
I think I ripped off 3 of them by making the mistake of not attaching to the tree well and running the line too high. So I busted 3. I'm yet to fix them. They're on another bug net. I found that aim for roughly the same height but a little bit higher.
And how do you normally sleep? What's your sleeping setup in the hammock?
So I just run a sleeping bag. But sometimes with the compression, as you squash down, you get robbed of a lot of body heat off the back, off your back. One thing Tiger introduced me to was putting a inflatable sleeping mat in there for some insulation. Alternatively, you can get another sleeping bag that opens up at both ends and sort of slide it down over yourself. So you're in your sleeping bag in your hammock, and then you also create a hot air pocket by using a summer bag and pulling it up once you're cozy, and then you can sort of regulate your heat like that. And then inflatable pillow, that's really nice in there. You sort of deflate your pillow to 30-40% and it forms to the shape of the hammock and it supports you really nicely.
How do you manage wet weather camping in a hammock?
Pull out always carry your tarp with you. And if it's looking like it's going to rain, just do the setup. It means you lose sight of the sky and the stars, but you don't have to wake up at 2 AM deliriously confused as why you have water on your face and whatnot. So I use Alton tarp as well. It's saved us a few times. It's a 3x3, so it's going to be quite big. You could always, I guess, fold it, but yeah, if you're pulling out your tarp, you need to have enough spread in the foliage that you can tie off to a few extra points. Or I guess you could A-frame it over yourself and peg it down. But I like to run it a little higher as a bit of a ceiling rather than having it just over me.
And how many times have you used your setup?
Probably 25-30 times, I would say. I often will store a few things in there, like maybe if I'm worried about, like I'm not so worried about it touching the ground, so I might even store my bags in here, sit it on the ground, just let it touch the ground. I've got this cool store pocket up here. Usually I put my phone and keys in here so they're really close to my person and accessible. That's what's up here.
How have you found the durability of the bug net?
Well, yeah, pretty good, because I will put stuff in it on the ground. It will move a little bit, it'll drag, maybe it blows in the wind, or I kick it around when I get up. And I haven't busted any holes in it yet. After sort of the 20-30 uses. Really good. No rips, no holes. The only time the bugs get in is when you don't drop your zips. I will say the best part of waking up in a hammock is that you completely avoid that morning steam room of the tent. If you like a sleep in and you're in a good spot, you get to sort of just peek out of your hammock rather than panic because you're in a sauna of a tent that's forcing you to get out because the sun's just baking you. So it's really nice to wake up in a picturesque spot and just peek over the edge and be on a cliff or on a headland somewhere and still be cozy, especially on a cold morning. You're still cozy, but you can look around and slowly wake up rather than being forced out of your tent. I just prefer it.
What happened to your Alton mat?
The Alton mat, after about as many uses, had a small leak, and so I was finding myself each morning waking up with my hip on the ground. And then Tiger suggested we just dunk it in the river, find the bubbles, and sort it out because it ships with some extra sealing tape. We dunked it, and then to dry it out, we put it on the roof of our bimini, or of our tinny, that we were in the tinny race. And so while it was drying, we were having a chat, and then I flipped it over on the roof to dry the other side. We got talking to someone and drove off without taking it off the roof. And that was at Renmark. And then we went through a few locks, and about 8 hours down the Murray, we went to set up camp, and I went to inflate the mat and put it in here. And yeah, it wasn't there. And so